All right, hey, welcome back to Working Class Customs YouTube channel. Welcome back once again to Stable B. We're back in Stable B. We did spend a weekend at Alabama Motorsports, in Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park. Did a track review down there, so go check that out. Link will be up here. And coming up, we're headed out to another racetrack here in a couple weeks. Be doing a 2-day track day, reviewing a couple bikes, reviewing the track there. So stick around on the channel to do that. Easiest way, click the subscribe button down below. While you're there, throw a like on the video. Now leave me your comments, questions, and experiences. I'm really kind of curious what you guys have had. Today's video is going to be talking about what I have come to love or at least enjoy about different track day organizations. I've ridden with a lot of them. We're going to talk about 5 different things that I have come to enjoy. And then next week, I'll put out 5 things that I don't enjoy specifically. So with that, I'll kind of talk through them. I'm not just gonna list 5 things, then the video is gonna be over. I wanna get you guys' feedback, what you guys think, if you guys kind of agree with me, if you've seen how other track day orgs do it better, worse, whatever it might be. And I'm not gonna call out any track day organizations by name. I haven't quite decided yet if I wanna start doing reviews on organizations or if we don't wanna even venture into that path. So let me know on that also. I wanna get your guys kind of feedback if you would enjoy those or if you don't think it's worth it, let me know. I've ridden with a lot of different organizations, seen a lot of different things, and they all kind of handle it relatively the same, but sometimes a little differently. So anyway, with that, let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so the first topic of the video, and before we get into that, we gotta talk about this shirt. When life gets you down, just drag a knee on the ground. These shirts are available on our website. I'll have a link up here to them. Also, go check them out. I think they're pretty cool. Made the design myself. You know, when you're feeling down, sad, whatever it might be. Well, if you're that far down, you might as well just stick your knee out and drag it. On the real though, we are here to talk about track day organizations and to talk about the 5 things that I have come to really enjoy. And the topic number 1 is gonna be time. So a very typical track day organization is gonna run 3 groups, 3 sessions, right? So your full day, generally you get about 7 sessions at 20 minutes a session. You'll do 3 before lunch, take an hour break for lunch, and do 4 after lunch. I love that. That is just about perfect. The hour break at lunch is nice. Sometimes I'm like, man, I could ride through it, but realistically, it's nice to be able to have a full hour so you can get back to the pits, get some food, or go find the restaurant in the pits, the food truck, whatever, and you actually have enough time. You're not like struggling in the 40-minute time period. I've run a couple actually without a lunch period, and the lunch period kind of helps take a nice mid-break during the day, and then generally also you have, I don't know how to put that, but your like temperature changes. So some places where it's colder and it could be kind of cold and almost rainy in the morning, that break in the day is like a great break. In the afternoon, you have 4 solid good sessions where it warms up, and that is awesome. So I have come to really love that format. The just 20-minute format is sweet. 3 groups, that's all you need. Any more than that, you kind of start to, I don't know, 15 minutes isn't quite enough, especially for a track day. If you're super freaking fast, you're riding out there in A group, and you're racing the weekend after, I'm sure you can get plenty of laps in. You feel like 15 minutes is a long enough period. But for those of us that are out there for a track day, we paid to go there to do a track day. And I've seen places that'll run a 4-session, 15-minute format and charge the same amount as a 3-session, 20-minute format. So at the end of the day, it's 7 sessions at 5 minutes a session. You know, you're losing out on over a half hour of riding, which at a track day, that's another session and a half that you're technically lost out on. So I really like the 20-minute 3-session format. I think that's awesome. The break for lunch is okay. I actually think it's pretty good. So just having a standard format, I honestly think that should be standardized across the chart. If you're a track day organization that's doing your track days with a race weekend and or with a new rider school, and so you're cutting it short, that's understandable. I understand that, and we need racing, we need that sport, so we can go ahead and keep that alive. I got that. When a track day organization takes your B group, because B group's so big all the time, and splits it into 2 groups and gets 15-minute sessions with an A, a B+, and a B-, and a C group, just don't sell as many tickets, right? If you're selling out every single time, that's good. You get more track days. Rent the track more often. Stop. Anyway, I don't need to get into that too much. A 20-minute, 3-session format is perfect. The only thing better than that I think I've seen was when we were at the Track Day Massacre last year down in Arizona. They did 4 groups because they did have a lot of people, but they started at 8 a.m. and still did a 20-minute session, right? And then you actually had an hour between each group, so they also didn't stop for lunch. So you got your full 7 sessions at 20 minutes a session in there, and that was awesome. But I need a full 20 minutes. I want the full 20 minutes. It's just about perfect. I've done a half-hour session also. I think that's a little too much. Sometimes you end up pulling it in. I've done open track day format. I've done all the different formats. So personally, I love a standard 3-session, 20 minutes. That format is great. Okay, so topic number 2, the 5 things that I love about track day organizations, or the 5 things that I've seen that I just really enjoy. And this one is interesting because it's mostly COVID related and I don't think it's stuck around, but this is to do with tech and registration. So back in COVID times, we couldn't be within 6 feet of people that we didn't know. So we can't all just go up to tech at a table and talk to each other and have 30 people stand in line without having a line like to Arkansas and back. I don't know. But the line was too long, or there were too many people and people would crowd up and all of that, and then tech. Anyway, whole to do, right? So what happened with this one track day organization, they said, we're gonna stay open, we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna do pit, tech, and registration. So we will come to you, which, let me tell you, that's freaking awesome, especially if you're running slicks, because you put your slicks on in the morning, or sorry, you pull the bike out in the morning, whatever it might be, and you throw your tire warmers on, you turn them on, you're done. You don't have to take them back off later and go to tech and come back. And you don't have to I usually, on a standard day, I'll go to tech and then I'll come back and that's when I put my tire warmers on. Generally, that's about enough time as long as I'm early to tech. But if something happens that morning, you're running a little late, that first tire warm-up session needs to be long enough to actually get your tires and your rims and everything else warm. The rest of the day, you're kind of just preventing heat cycles in the tires. But that first one, very important that you have a nice long session to really get that heat into the tires, into the rims, into the air. All of it needs to be warmed up. That can take some time. So if you show up a little late that morning, you're running behind, or something happened with the bike that you gotta get fixed, and you spend all your time over at registration, coming back, getting the bike, going over to tech, coming back, it's gonna take a while. You could run into an issue where your tires aren't fully up to temp, or the tires are, but the rims themselves haven't had time to warm up yet, and so they cool your tires down from the inside out. So the rolling tech was like the coolest thing I think I've ever seen, because you get out in the morning, you set up your camp, you put your tire warmers on, and you just kind of sit there and wait. It was a little scary when, depending on where you are, you see the guys go across the other way and then you think they're coming back, but you're like, it's time for the riders meeting, I haven't been teched yet. But generally, you go to the riders meeting, if you hadn't made it yet, either come back and you've got stickers on your bike because they did it while you were gone, or you can grab someone at the riders meeting and say, hey, I'm down at this tent, no one's come out yet, and they say, okay, we'll be out there in a minute, and they come get you. It's taken care of. I don't know if that's feasible to keep up necessarily, but I know that track day organizations do have a lot of staff, and if you have a nice close pit, it is, oh man, it's so awesome to go around to your people, right? These are your customers. We, probably you and I, right? Me making this video, you watching this video, are the customers of the track day organization. So if they can come to us, that's huge. It's awesome. So rolling tech, you stay in the pits, the tech comes to you. Also makes it that much easier. If you need to change something, you can just do it right there in front of them. You don't have to go back to the pits and oh, I forgot to tape up my wheel weight, or I forgot to disconnect my headlights, or they require you to disconnect, not just tape over, whatever it might be. Just the small things, right? If it's a big problem, okay, big problems happen sometimes. If you need a whole fork seal replaced, that's gonna take some time anyway. But the small things that we might forget because we just changed some tires, rebalanced, forgot to put tape on our wheel weights, whatever it might be. Super easy when you're doing rolling tech to just come through, change that real quick and you're done. So rolling tech, that makes number 2. Okay, so number 3, I started doing track days over on the West Coast in Washington, up at the Ridge Motorsports Park. I'm now on the East Coast. I've ridden in Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, Utah, Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. So I've ridden in a lot of different states. I've ridden with several different track organizations through all those states, and there's a stark difference between the East Coast and the West Coast. That biggest difference is that many of the East Coast track day organizations make you start at the bottom group. Whether or not you've done track days before, whether or not you've ridden at that track before, whatever it is, if you haven't ridden with them, you got to start at the bottom of their group, and then they will choose when you bump up, and you have to be evaluated, you have to whatever. But since this is a video about what I love, we're going to talk about the opposite of that. I know how I ride, and I know what I'm comfortable with, so I love when a track day organization lets me choose where I want to be. Now, putting stipulations on that I've seen that I am okay with is, hey, you can't run in A group until you're a sub 150 lap time. You can't run in B group until you're sub 205, whatever it might be, right? There should be some stipulations, because you don't want a person that has been out canyon carving for 10, 15 years, thinks he's amazing, goes to a track for the first time, he's like, I need to be in A group, and then gets his doors blown off and causes a problem because he doesn't even know what racing lines are. But you should trust the people to be able to make that decision, and let them make that decision. And if they think they're ready to move up to B group, they should be able to move up to B group. I've also seen people that aren't fast enough for A group move up to A group, And then because they're still safe on the track, they still make predictable moves, they still know race lines, they're just a little slow, but they don't mind being passed at a close rate, right? Generally, between your groups, fast and slow is kind of what it is, but it's also comfortability factor, how comfortable you are with being passed with someone. Do I need that person 10 feet away from me and only on the outside of the turn so I don't see him and I don't worry about it? Or am I okay with someone literally shoving it up the inside of me as I'm going into a turn because they got a race tomorrow and they need some practice on this track? That's generally kind of the difference there, is just how comfortable you are with bikes being so close to you and people going way faster than you. So I've seen times where people are not fast enough for A group, not fast enough, but they want to get better, and they know the best way to do that is to chase fast people. So they have predictable lines, they know the race lines, and they're comfortable with bikes past them, super close, whatever, and they get out there and they end up making some pretty fast improvements very quickly because they're chasing faster people around the track. So letting the riders choose what group they're in is something that I definitely love about track day organizations. Having some stipulations on that I understand, and saying like, hey, if it's your first time, we strongly recommend you go in novice group or C group or slow group or beginner group or whatever the name is. I don't know, but that is awesome. I like that a lot. I understand stipulations. If it's your first time doing a track day ever, you should ride in a beginner group. If you feel like you're super fast, you can move up halfway through the day. It's okay. Just go in the beginner group the first time, make sure you know what you're doing, and then move up afterward. When the track day organization lets you make that decision for yourself, this is America after all, free country, decisions are ours. I love it. Okay, so up to the fourth thing that I love, or that I have come to enjoy at least, about track day organizations. This one's kind of interesting and probably gonna cause some controversy, so I'm curious to get you guys' thoughts. My track day veterans, track day junkies, if you will, the club racers that might be watching this, and the newbies even. I'm curious what you guys all think. I have done little to no instruction out at a racetrack. Right now I'm not on the path where I plan on racing anytime soon. I just simply enjoy riding these motorcycles at more capability than they have on the road, inside the legal parameters and in a safer zone, right? And that's what track day is all about, in my opinion, is it gives you a chance for a little bit of money to take your super bike, which is what it is, that is built for racing, and go ride it at a speed that you're comfortable with, but more than you can safely do on the road, more than you can legally do on the road. So I think that that's what track days are for. It's purely for the enjoyment of the rider. Not everyone should be forced to go race eventually or anything like that. Like I said, it might be a little controversial. If you're looking into racing, 100% use track days for that. I'm not taking away from that at all, but I don't think that everyone that goes to a track day needs to race. So with that, I don't think that everyone that goes to a track day needs instruction. So most of the track day organizations I've been to have instructors available. You can pay for them, but you don't have to use them. And I love that. That is great, because if I want to go out to the racetrack and figure it out on my own, I should be allowed to do that. That's what I'm there for. It's a track day. I'm not there to set a lap record. I'm not there to race somebody. I'm not there to do anything beyond ride my motorcycle at whatever speed I'm comfortable with and have fun doing it. So we have the class structures, we have all those things, but we also have coaches out there. Sometimes these coaches can get a little bit overbearing, but a track day that keeps those coaches exactly what they are, or control riders, even if you want to, there is a difference, sorry, control rider and coach. The control riders sometimes can kind of be a little like, oh, I know everything. I know exactly how to ride this track, come follow me, you'll get the perfect line, you'll get whatever. And it's like, well, maybe I'm not up to that speed yet. Maybe I'm not up to that standard. Maybe I don't want to be, maybe I just want to have fun. So a track day that lets you just kind of go ride, but has those coaches available if you want them, is just about the perfect setup. So I've seen differences here and there. In my opinion, you could have a dude that, you know, maybe his kids finally moved out and he decided he wanted to go buy a sport bike, and he doesn't want to go flying down the freeway at 150 miles an hour and break laws and get thrown in prison. He wants to go to a track day and go enjoy his bike. He doesn't have any aspiration to race this motorcycle. He doesn't have any aspiration to set a best lap time there. He just wants to go enjoy this bike. He doesn't necessarily need a coach constantly telling him where he's not looking, where he's not riding right, where he's not on the line perfectly, whatever else. Now, that being said, if it's your first track day, I would recommend at least a couple lead follows, or at least study the race lines a little bit. Generally at track days, not generally, we'll get into that. That's the next thing I love. But, you know, find your markers, find your things. Going around a racetrack at a predictable motion and on the race line is still pretty important for the general flow, but that's also kind of what that novice group is for, right? It's for those people that are learning, it's for the first timers, it's for everyone kind of coming together, and we're all got to be careful. So people that have been in novice for a long time understand that the new people might make a little bit of unpredictable moves. So we give you plenty of space to do that, right? And when you go to your riders meeting, you're talked to about you need at least 6 feet or at least 10 feet to pass. You can't pass in turns at all, or you can only pass on the outside of turns. You can only pass on straights. Whatever the rules might be, they're set up to keep everyone generally pretty safe. But that guy that just wants to go out and enjoy his brand new Ducati that he bought should be allowed to do that. That's the whole purpose of the track day. So I love when a track day kind of gives you that freedom to do it. They offer ride-alongs, they offer a track walk in the morning or a track drive in the morning where they'll go drive a pickup truck around and show you kind of the race lines and tell you this, this is the inside of a corner. This is what we call an apex. Things that a brand new track person might not actually know. That is great. That's how it should be. Make it available, but don't force it. So that is the 4th thing that I love that track day organizations will do. Okay, the 5th and final thing that I love about the track day organization, and not one specific, but that I have seen at several different, sometimes this is racetrack related, but generally it's the organization itself. So we just got done talking about coaching and having it available, but not forcing it. One of those things that I love that I've seen some really good, well done, and some like kind of half done and some not done at all is having markers out there for the riders, right? So I'm not racing. I don't know what the race line is, and I don't know where my eyes should be. I don't know when I should brake. I don't know when I should turn in. I don't know where my apex should be. I don't know all of those things because I'm a brand new track day going guy. Or maybe I've done a few track days, but I still am not exactly sure. Or maybe this is my first time at the next track. I've done track days for 4 years, but I just moved to Florida and this is my first time at Jennings. Whatever it might be, having markers out there, cones, is amazing. One of the best I've seen. I think Ken Hill technically coined it, so I gotta call him out on that, but it's this dual apex cone theory, which is where you have 2 cones at the apex instead of 1, so you know what angle your bike needs to be, because you need to be exactly perpendicular to the 2 cones when you pass by them. So that tells you actually where your apex is, because if you just have a single cone sitting there in the apex, I could be at the apex in this direction, this direction, this direction, anywhere, and still apexing the turn, but not necessarily in the correct way. But with that, I've seen tracks that just have a cone at the apex. I've seen tracks, like I said, that have nothing. And I've seen a track that had a cone at your off throttle mark, a cone at your braking mark, and then a cone at your, hey, you need to be out here before you turn in. And then you turn in, you find your apex, and then they're like, this is where you should shoot for on the way out. And literally cones leading your eyes all the way through. I love that because you don't have to use them, right? Once again, a track day is not racing. I'm not there to set a lap time. I'm not trying to be the fastest guy out there. So when you just set up cones and kind of let the people use them as they want to, you still have that freedom aspect there. But for me, it is amazing to have that visual. I don't have to go find my own braking markers. I don't have to go find my own, like, for me, I'm coming out of a turn. And it's very easy to get sucked down into your turn where you're just staring down into the turn. So as you come up out of the turn, you got to move your eyes up. And if you only move your eyes up a little bit, you're not going to go as fast. If you move your eyes up and way out, right, look up. The further you look up, the farther you look out, the faster you can go because your brain's more comfortable because it doesn't think there's something right in front of you making you go slow. So when you have cones there to kind of lead you through and have things to stare at and they're very easy to find, it makes it amazing for a track day, makes it really easy to experience and kind of leads your eyes through there almost naturally. You'll find that you go to a racetrack without them and you're like, oh, now I have to find some random fire hydrant somewhere to look at. Okay, it's doable, but for a first-time track guy, track day guy, whatever, or even, your 5th, 6th experience, it's very refreshing and nice to just be able to go out there and have the cones available to you if you want to use them. And as you start to use them, you're like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. Then you kind of start to drop them maybe a little bit, or maybe you don't. So having cones set up to show you, in my opinion, more cones is better. That being said, we can't just line the whole racetrack with cones. That doesn't really work. But having a turn-in point, a braking point, a turn-out point, and an apex point on that is just about perfect, I think. Makes for a great track day experience. Really helps your eyes kind of follow around the way you should. And I would say that on the track day organization side of things, if you want to keep people safe, show them exactly what to look at, they have less chance of leaving the racing line because their bike goes where the eyes go. That's what we get preached to all the time. It's 100% true. So if you make the eyes go where you want the bike to go, everyone at your track day, generally, at least as long as you mention, hey, look at the cones, they're gonna follow that general racing line and be a lot safer. So that is number 5. All right, that is gonna wrap up this week's video, the 5 things that I have enjoyed about track day organizations. Once again, I would like your feedback. Let me know if I should start doing reviews on individual track day organizations so you can know what to expect at least. I have opinions about some, I don't have opinions about others. So I am a little wary of doing those reviews and whether or not I want to, because I don't want to get too opinions sucked into them, but I think that I can put out a good product for you guys. So if you're interested in that, please let me know down in the comments. Beyond that, I hope you guys enjoyed this list of the 5 things that I love, or that I have at least come to enjoy about different track day organizations and the way they do things. Next week, we'll throw out a video about the 5 things that I don't like. You will see that video kind of follow a little bit of the same path, because some of those things are the opposite of the things that I just did. But I got a couple other things in there also that I really just am not a big fan of. So stick around on the channel. Once again, click the subscribe button down below, and then let me know if you guys have any other experiences. Have you seen things that you like or don't like? Let me know. Put them down in the comments. If you think that I'm completely off and you're like, yo man, that's stupid, or yeah, that is great, let me know down in the comments. I'm always here to get other people's feedback, get some kind of like, if I have my vision this way and I'm stuck this way, just like on a racetrack, if I have my tunnel vision on and I'm only looking here, I can't actually necessarily see the whole track and everywhere that I could be or should be. So your guys' opinions down in the comments mean a lot to me, because it kind of opens my eyes to the way that different people see things. And maybe I'm missing the mark somewhere, or maybe I'm like, okay, now that you mention it that way, I can have that outlook on it, I can have that perspective on it, and then I can kind of build my opinions based off of the way that everyone feels, and see if I'm just reading things completely wrong. Or maybe I just don't like your opinion. That's okay, this is the internet. It's a place full of many, many opinions. I want to hear all about them. Leave them down in the comments. With that, we'll sign off for the week. We'll see you guys next week.